Well, let's see how big this boycott's going to get. The last time Congress people actively boycotted an inauguration was the second one of Richard Nixon. Here's the history, and here's what's going on now.
In 1973, they had to cancel a bunch of the inaugural festivities they had planned to go on for days after the swearing in, so instead they could make room for LBJ to lie in state at the Capitol. It was just a miserable, dark maelstrom of an inauguration. It's more than 40 years ago now. But it is also the last time there was a large-scale boycott by members of Congress of a president swearing in. You heard in that NBC report there that they expected about 165 members of Congress to boycott Nixon's second inauguration. It didn't end up being that many. It reportedly ended up being about half that. About 80 members of Congress stayed away in 1973. But that is the last time a substantial number of congressmen and congresswomen refused to show up to mark the swearing in of a new president. I mean, there's always a few here and there, but that's the last time there was any significant number of members of Congress boycotting. Well, now, more than 40 years later, it is happening again. Today and into this evening, we have been watching a similar phenomenon take place, take shape for this year's inauguration of a new president. As of this past Friday night, Georgia Democratic Congressman John Lewis was one of only a handful of Democratic representatives who had said they would not attend the Trump inauguration this week, and it might have remained a small number had the incoming president had the discipline to not respond when Congressman John Lewis said he wasn't going to go to the inauguration. If he could have just let it go, it probably would have stayed just a small handful of liberal Democrats who weren't going to be there. But instead, the incoming president decided to spend Martin Luther King Day weekend attacking civil rights legend John Lewis. Great move. And so now, lots and lots and lots of members of Congress are saying they will stay home from the inauguration out of respect for John Lewis, if for no other reason. Congresswoman Judy Chu of California, quote, "After much thought, I have decided to stand with John Lewis and not attend the inauguration." Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, "I will not attend the inauguration of Donald Trump. When you insult Congressman John Lewis, you insult America." Congresswoman Marcia Fudge, "I will not be attending the inauguration. I will be home in Cleveland. I stand with John Lewis." Those are just a handful of them, but there's a ton of them. We're keeping a running tally here at MSNBC. We're up to at least 30 members of Congress who have now pledged overtly by name, not anonymously, but they've said they will not attend the inauguration on Friday. We'll see how many members of Congress and the Senate ultimately stay away, but this appears to be the first large-scale congressional boycott of an inauguration since 1973.
Now, let me bring to your attention that Donald Trump and Richard Nixon have a lot in common. Both apparently had a disdain for the intelligence agencies. Nixon, when he got his intelligence briefings, he only took them in writing, and when he stepped into the Oval Office, he returned all of the briefing envelopes unopened. Nixon colluded against America when he went to the South Vietnamese and told them not to make the deal that Johnson had basically brokered, which allowed the war to go an additional 5+ years with the loss of numerous American lives. It looks like Trump is doing the same thing with his bromance with Putin against both America and our European allies. Both are creating, well, in Nixon's case, he created, in Trump's case, he's creating strife all over the place, both domestically and internationally. Both are extremely thin-skinned. Both have personality defects. So hopefully the same thing that happened to President Nixon, i.e. getting impeached and then he resigned before the actual impeachment occurred, will happen to Mr. Trump, but hopefully a lot sooner.